Welcome everyone to another edition of ICTV Headlines. As usual, I am your host, Dijana Kunovac. I'm joined in studio by basketball analyst Rob Harrington. And this past Friday night, we got our first look at the Tar Heels in their exhibition game against Fayetteville State. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of first looks, but the first guy I want to talk about is freshman Justin Jackson. 18 points, 5 rebounds, 22 minutes played, the most on the team. So, Rob, how impressive was Justin Jackson?
Well, you and I talked on this show last year, probably more than 1 year ago, that Jackson might be able to come in and average double figures in scoring. Now it looks like, based on admittedly few data points, not just with the exhibition game, but scrimmages and the stuff in the Bahamas, he might even do a little bit better than that. I mean, I thought he might creep 10 to 12 points per game, but he's consistently now starting to look like a 14 to 15 per night scorer. Now we'll see if he maintains that, but I think the biggest takeaway is that he clearly appears to be the most advanced of the 3 freshmen.
I was going to ask about the 3 freshmen. Theo Pinson added another 14 points. What did you think of his performance?
He looked jittery in the first half, a lot of mistakes, and I think that will be a reoccurring issue for him this season because he's accustomed to playing with the ball in his hands a lot. He's accustomed to dribbling a lot. And they're going to have to beat that out of him, basically, in a nice way. He'll have to learn to play more without the ball, but you start to see the natural things he does. The tip dunks, the great defensive plays, is a really versatile scorer. And I don't think that he's going to be a great shooter. I know he shot the ball well the other night, but I think he'll be okay. I think his sophomore year he'll be a better shooter, but this season he'll give them energy. I think he'll give them a lot of in-between type plays. I think he'll complement the other 2 wings well, not only Jackson, but JP Tokoto.
You mentioned energy. I definitely think he's going to be that guy this year. If anybody saw the pregame for the Fayetteville State game, it was him and Nate Britt doing the jump around dance. So I think he brings that X factor that you don't necessarily see on the court. Now, what about Joel Berry? What do you think he added with his performance?
Solid. I think that is going to be the standard adjective applied to him this season. He's not going to get the opportunities to be a big stats guy because he just won't get the playing time. He's behind the best player on the team, Marcus Page. Nate Britt is a very capable backup. So Berry is going to be fighting for minutes with Britt. Of course, there are a lot of combinations they can use. Play 2 point guards at one time, but with all 3 of the wings playing big minutes, that's going to crimp both the backup point guards' minutes some because that means Page will be on the ball more. Long way of saying that is I think Berry will have a better year than his numbers indicate. You can see the things he does well. He's a good playmaker. He's a real tough, aggressive guy. Not really a shooter, although he was trying the other night, but that's something he has to work on. But I think he'll have a good year as long as you have modest statistical expectations for him.
That's a good way to put it. You mentioned the wing play. I want to talk about the lineup, and if you think that those 5, with obviously Marcus, Tokoto at the 2, Justin Jackson starting as a freshman, and then Bryce Johnson and Kennedy Meeks, do you think that, are you comfortable saying that's the lineup going forward?
Yes, and I'm surprised by that. I thought that it would be one of those things where probably Britt would start early in the year, and then Roy Williams over the course of the non-conference, maybe around Christmas, would sort of quietly make a change. I mean, I think Jackson was always going to start, most likely. At least he was the odds-on guy. But for him to start the exhibition game, I think is not only a statement about how well Jackson is playing and how much he's impressed the coaches, but how Roy Williams' mindset this year is, we're not going to have another slow start. We're not going to have another period of acclimation to real competition because those games really hurt them last year. And I think he's tired of losing, and relative to his expectations, the last 2 years haven't hit them. I think this year they're looking to turn that around from day one.
You mentioned a period of acclimation. Good segue into Kennedy Meeks and getting accustomed to that new body. Kennedy Meeks is skinny, for those who have not noticed. So I want to talk about that and what you thought of his performance, because I feel like fans are expecting big things from him and don't maybe realize that he's going to need some time to get used to that body.
He is in a transitional period. I thought it looked like it would be the case during the summer, just given the amount of weight that he lost. It's not just a matter of changing his waist size. His entire physical dimensions are different. His style is going to have to change some, and he has looked like it in all the stuff I've seen so far, the summer and now the exhibition game. He looks like he's trying to figure out what he is. It reminds me, and probably a lot of other people, of Deon Thompson in 2008. Deon Thompson closed 2007 very strongly his freshman year. Kennedy Meeks closed 2014 very strongly his freshman year, and they both took off a ton of weight I think like Thompson did in 2008, Meeks will have a little bit quieter 2015 than people think. I think he'll have a good solid year. The good news for Carolina is they don't need him to be an interior scorer, at least a primary type guy. They will need him to rebound. And I think he just needs time to become accustomed to using his body differently now that he doesn't have all that mass.
You mentioned interior scorer, and I was going to ask you about any surprises on the team, because for me, in the exhibition game, it was Isaiah Hicks, but you've been high on Isaiah Hicks for a long time now. So what did you think of his performance?
I think he's playing now like we all thought he could play, at least based on the people who watched him in high school. I had the unfair advantage of a head start because I think a lot of fans last year were like, how could you possibly think this guy, how did he make the McDonald's team? He never plays. Well, when he's in there, he looks passive. I don't think he'll be necessarily a national breakout player, but I think that he will be a breakout player for this team if he's the third big man, which I think he clearly appears to be.
Yeah.
I think he'll come in and not only give them buy minutes for the starters, I think he'll actually be productive.
It's interesting, we talked to Bryce Johnson after the game because he was kind of like the sixth man off the bench last year, and we asked him, who's it going to be this year? And he said Isaiah Hicks. That seems to fit perfectly. So final question that I have for you, it was an exhibition game, it was just the blue-white scrimmage a couple of weeks ago, but how good of an idea do you have of this team and what they're going to be going forward?
I'm not ready yet to predict how good they will be. I maintain that even after they lost that game in the Bahamas, it didn't throw me off. I still think they're in the top 8 to 12 team. I think they can be better than that if things fall a certain way. I think their floor probably is top 15, barring something external, like an injury. But I think what we are seeing is the coaching mindset behind the team. We'll see how good these guys are when they play real competition. And they're still a few weeks away. But you're already, here it is in October, and their coaching staff is saying, Roy Williams says in the press conference after the game, it was an easy decision to start Justin Jackson, not just like, oh, well, we decided the day of,
he did not
close.
hesitate, and none of the other coaches hesitated either.
It was unequivocal, and I think that demonstrates how serious they are about this being a big destination year for them.
All right, good to hear. Thanks, Rob. That's going to be it for this edition of ICTV Headlines. Thanks, everyone.